Hi there. In this expert series video, I'm going to show you how to apply a vignetting type of effect to the photo. It's an effect where the edges have light fall off, artificially added to it. In the older days, with some of the older lenses, you would naturally get a fair amount of light fall off near the edges of your image. Nowadays, lenses are designed a little bit more so that this does not occur. And if you have a smaller sensor size camera, sometimes this will not even happen at all. It's a nice effect, and it can actually isolate the subjects in the middle. And so when you want to isolate the subject from the borders, this is a wonderful technique to use. I brought in a photo. It's a little squirrel munching on something in a little field of grass. And it's an okay photo. It's a little bit dull, but my eyes are equally as interested in the grass as it is the squirrel. I'd like to try and change that so that I'm just looking at the squirrel mostly. And it's a subtle effect, but it'll actually, well, it works for me. I don't know if it'll work for you, but it actually makes me focus on the squirrel more. So let me show you the final product. It'll look something like this. It's a little bit more saturated, and the edges are a little bit darker, as if it was taken with an older lens. Let me go back to the beginning. And one more time, the final result. Okay, let's show you how to do this. Now, you could use the burn tool and manually go in and burn the edges. That's very tricky, and it's not that precise. Some of the newer versions of Photoshop actually come with a lens correcting filter, and this can do sort of a vignetting effect. It's okay. The technique I'm going to show you is more powerful because you manually set how much vignetting you want wherever you want it. Okay, first thing I would do to this photo is just boost up the contrast. I'm going to just do an auto contrast. Image adjustments, auto contrast. There. Now the highlights are a little bit more visible. Now the next thing, I want to darken the edges. And to do that, I'm going to use a mask. And I'm going to mask out the squirrel so that I'm only working with the edges to darken. Now, to get a seamless vignetting effect, I'm going to want to make a mask that starts off in the middle very strong, like 100%, and then as it goes out to the edges, I want it to taper off. If you were clever, you could use a circular gradient, and it would give you a perfect selection from 100% down to 0, but that might look a little too perfect. It might look a little bit artificial. This other technique's going to have some flow to it, and it's going to be a lot more rough, so it might look a little bit more natural. So let's do that. I'm going to go into quick mask mode. I have my paintbrush selected. I have a fairly big size, and now I want to set the opacity to 100% to begin with. And now I'm just going to paint around the middle where I want no vignetting to occur. So I'm going to just do that. Okay, do everything in the middle. Make sure I've done everything. Okay, now I'm going to start tapering this off. So now I'm going to just bump the opacity down to something like 70%. And now I just work my way around the outside. Okay, now I'm going to taper it even some more. Maybe I'll go down to 40% or so. Keep doing the outside. And how about one more time, down to 20%. Okay, now let me go back into normal mode. And now you can see the rough sketch. Now, depending on what you painted is going to be what's vignetted or not, what's masked out. So you can actually customize your mask selection to shift this light fall off to the left, to the right, up or down, or whatever way you want it. You're controlling where you want the vignetting to occur. I've already done that, so now I have to make the edges darker, and I can do that easily with a curves. Image, adjustments, curves, and I'm just going to pull down the midtones. And I'm going to make use of my navigator. About there looks okay. Unpreview that. Now notice how it's the picture like it was, but now if I preview it, because the edges are darker, I'm more attracted to the middle of the image, just naturally. That's how my eyes work. I don't know if it's human psychology or what, but it works. And so I like it. I'm going to apply that. And the last thing I'm going to do is tweak the squirrel contrast a bit. So I'm going to select the inverse, and I'm going to do another curves adjustment. I think I'm going to leave the midtones where they are, pull down the lowlights a bit, make it a little bit darker, more vibrant, and just a tiny bit of the highlights. Unpreview that. Not as brilliant. Preview it. It's a little bit more contrasty. So I'm going to select OK, select deselect, and there you go. A seamless vignetting effect. If I hadn't known the original existed, I never would have known anything was done to this photo. I would have assumed it was just the lens that made this or whatever not. So I think it looks really good. Okay, I hope this was helpful.